It's gorgeous out. Let's pop some ducks.
This is the Upduck podcast, a blend of upland and waterfowl hunting. Tune in as your hosts, Tyler Beaton, Jeff Ludicky, Matt Jeske, chat about training dogs and share their bird hunting stories, tactics, and strategies.
Oh, there it is. Gentlemen, we are back. We are live. We're recording.
Episode 98.
98.
We're getting ever so close to that 100 episode mark, gentlemen.
Correct.
Yeah.
Inching up.
I've gotten some prize and like balloons if I was 100.
I maybe. You'll never know.
That is correct. Yeah. That is correct. Yeah. We're still figuring out, is episode 100 going to be just the three of us? Or are we going to bring on a guest?
I don't know.
Our most frequent guest? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk
about
it
fun regardless, though. I think Tyler's going to need to pour himself some 3 fingers of his favorite whiskey like he did on episode 1.
Ooh. Nope. Absolutely not.
Make it like 10 minutes in and be a little loopy.
I'm gonna sip my lemonade and call it good. Okay. All right.
All right.
That's it, gentlemen. We're like 2 weeks away from 2.5 weeks away from teal season here. By the time this drops, it'll be like 1.5 weeks. You know, it'll be under 2. How are we feeling right now?
Excited. I haven't seen too many teal show up yet, though, but it's going to be quick. But Matt, have you guys been seeing anything out there in the Mississippi?
I haven't been looking. The river's so far up, or it's up, and I haven't been out much.
Yeah, the geese are starting to show up.
Small ponds on the way to work, though. I've seen little ducks, though, so I've been noticing more and more. I got to start driving a different way in.
Yeah,
start kind of gauging where they're at.
Yeah, them things show up so fast, though. It's like one day they're there, and the next day they're gone.
Yeah, mine doesn't start till the 6th, though, so I get a weird overlap.
All right, that's what you get for living in Iowa, Matt. So
no, it works. You guys push them over the river, and they get all comfortable on this side, and then that next Saturday, that's my plan.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah,
it's a good plan. Yeah, Jeff, as you said that you've been seeing some geese.
I've been seeing a lot more geese every day. It seems like I see more and more geese. So that's a good sign too.
Yep, right about now is when giant flocks are going over my house. Let me know they're flying over, and let me know that season is really close.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much at the weather though. I don't know if we're going to get a push of some cold weather here or not anytime soon, but who knows?
I mean,
that's usually how it works. You find them all, and then the week before opener, a big front pushes them all out of there, and there's nothing where you just saw them. So
exactly.
Yeah,
sounds right. And if you're hearing that voice, that is the voice of our guest, which we're going to bring him in right now. His name is Brian Glenzinski. He works for Ducks Unlimited. Brian, welcome to the Upduck podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to a conversation with you guys. Just by way of introduction, I guess I am the Director of Conservation Programs for DU's Great Lakes Initiative. So I cover Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio, and I think we'll focus on Wisconsin. Before taking that position, I started with DU as the Wisconsin regional biologist. So all the work in this state is near and dear to my heart. Prior to that, I was with Wisconsin DNR as a wildlife biologist for about 15 years. Left them about 12 years ago, and I haven't looked back. Been having a great time here with DU.
Excellent. Whereabouts are you located, Brian?
I'm in Madison, Wisconsin here.
All right. Excellent. That's great. That's great background. Did you know you wanted to be a wildlife biologist when you were growing up? Is that something you planned on being, or did you just kind of fall into that?
No. But I knew I wanted to do something in the outdoors. I grew up in Rochester, Minnesota, a generation removed from some dairymen in Wisconsin. So my family migrated to Minnesota, but originally grandparents have a farm up north of Arcadia there, up probably not too far off the river from where Matt's up at there. But so yeah, had a love for the outdoors. Went to UW Stevens Point and tried my hand at a lot of different things. Thought maybe a warden, thought maybe a bunch of different jobs, and then took an internship once at the university or at the Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge, probing muskrat huts in the middle of the winter, and thought this is pretty cool. So locked into that career there at Stevens Point, and never looked back. So it's been quite a ride, and hopefully got another good 5-10 years left in me.
Did you grow up in a hunting family? I assume you did, but
It skipped a generation. My dad was not a big hunter, and luckily I had those uncles and folks back on the farm who were, and that's where that was instilled. I didn't really start waterfowl hunting until college in Stevens Point, Rochester, Minnesota. If you guys remember, that's where the remnant giant Canada goose population came from. So I did a little bit of goose hunting growing up in Rochester, but really wasn't big into waterfowl until college and afterwards. So kind of a late bloomer as far as that goes, but really just grateful for that connection to the land with my uncles and grandparents every summer, just being on the farm, and it started out mostly deer and turkey hunting, and then caught the waterfowl bug a little later on there. So now I enjoyed a little bit of everything. So keeps us busy.
Now, as the conservation manager for DU, are you busy during the season, or are you primarily, is most of your work happening off season, and then you get to hunt and enjoy yourself a little bit during the fall?
Yeah, DU kind of shuts down a little bit during the duck season. It's hard to find people, but no, we're still working. It depends a lot on the season. I mean, if it's a good time to be moving dirt, we're moving dirt. We just make sure we got coverage where we're needed. But there certainly is a little bit of a lull during the waterfowl season, that's for sure. And some of that is part of the job. You want to get out there with people and spend some time with folks. So yeah, I really enjoy getting out and getting as much duck hunting as I can. It's never enough, but try to make the most of it.
how many days a year do you actually get out during the season?
Oh, geez. I tell you, every rung up the ladder is probably 10 less days, but yeah, it's maybe 20 if I'm lucky.
Okay, that's decent. Sounds pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Did I make it out 20 times last year? I'm not sure. Matt, you did.
Yeah.
That's got
A lot of
PTO
those.
stuff.
The morning hunts before work, not necessarily the nice all dayers, but yeah, it's a good way to check out projects too. It's unfortunate, a lot of these projects, we complete construction, do the as-built survey, make sure everything looks good, and you're off and on to the next one, and then you never get back to them. So a lot of times I'll purposely go back to some projects that I haven't seen in a while and check them out with a shotgun in hand.
I was gonna say, it feels like part of your job, you should be able to hunt to, get a feel for what it's like at some of these properties that you're, doing work on or helping get work started on. You should be able to go back or go out to them and carry a shotgun, bring a dog, whatever you're gonna do. So a few duck calls, maybe some buddies, make it a whole group thing.
Yeah.
Get a shovel so you can punch in for the day and log some hours. Throw a shovel in the boat, just in case.
I tell you, it's like I said, it's less and less every rung up the ladder. But I do take great pride. When I started with DU 12 years ago, I was the only staff delivering conservation in Wisconsin, and now we're up to We got about one professional engineer in Wisconsin now, and 3 other engineering technicians, and then 3 other biologists working. So those guys are out more than I am, and I usually have to quiz them on where the ducks are. So get to know those guys. I'm dead weight now.
I don't believe that for 1 second. So you've grown all that staff, right? All that staff has grown from a conservation standpoint with DU in the state of Wisconsin. Like what's led to that? What are you working on now? Like talk about that growth, that trajectory a little bit.
You bet. Yeah, I mean, it's I think all boats have really risen in the conservation world until recent times when we've hit a little bit of a hiccup here with some of the funding sources. But for the longest time, there were, like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is a national program that was growing strong and had great conservation deliverables built into that program. We had, our state duck stamp funding and the Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Program. What DU does very well is taking our private dollar that comes in through the banquet and leverage it to get those state dollars, and then we'll take those $2 and go get the federal dollar. So this machine just started building, and as it built, we were able to add capacity and ramp up the delivery of acres on the ground. So it's been kind of capitalizing on those leveraging opportunities. The North American Wetlands Conservation Act is another federal program that we tap into big time, and helps fuel that machine that's led to that growth. And it's not just Wisconsin, that's across the Great Lakes Initiative and across DU in general. We've seen a lot of growth in our company. But yeah, I think, that conservation machine is really something we take pride in. And that goes all the way back to the beginning. Like we're founded on science. That starts with the North American Wetlands Conservation, or the North American Waterfowl Management Plan. That is delivered more concretely through our joint venture plans. We're in the Upper Mississippi Great Lakes joint venture, and we get a little more habitat objectives through that. Then Wisconsin's fortunate to be one of the few states that further refine that into a Wisconsin waterfowl habitat strategic plan, and that really guides where we do our work. And when you have that connection to science, those granting sources that dole out the money, you're set up for success because you're speaking their language, you're checking all the boxes they want to see. And so that foundation in science transfers directly to, I think, a great platform to expand and grow our program. So it starts there, and then those programs seem to be constantly under attack, whether it's Knowles-Nelson Stewardship or we had a big campaign years back to raise the duck stamp fee to increase that leveraging component. So then there's this policy aspect of the machine that we are all getting in the game and being way more effective in both state level policy work and then that national policy level work that allows the leveraging to happen and that machine to run. So it's really been set up by those kind of things that's allowed us to really capitalize, grow that program, and put effective acres on the ground for waterfowl.
Sure. I want to ask about Knowles-Nelson, but you mentioned Wisconsin. They refined the plan into like a strategic plan. Did other states do that? Like did Iowa do that, or is it just like a select handful that have done things like that?
Michigan's working on it right now. A couple of states have done it. Wisconsin was one of the first, and now other states are doing taking that model and tweaking it a little bit and doing those step down plans. The great thing about the joint venture is they have a pretty good model. Like if you were working off the JV model, you've got pretty good direction already built in there. And when we took that on in Wisconsin, we had a researcher up in Stevens Point and a researcher at Wisconsin DNR that were really good at this new kind of GIS world and data sets, and we're able to grab not only the JV data but some of our spring waterfall survey data and some of that more specific data to Wisconsin, and really get a finer scale point on where we want to deliver conservation. So now we have all these priority Huck 12 watersheds. So they're about the size of a township, maybe a little bigger in some cases, but throughout Wisconsin, we've got those ranked from 1 to 9 on which are the most effective places to put our dollar and get the biggest bang for our buck. So that's kind of our guiding resource in Wisconsin here.
Now, what percentage are you guys working on with public land versus private land?
Acres wise, it's probably 90% public land. Project wise, we do a lot of smaller projects on private lands. We've got a private lands biologist hired now in the state, Sarah Comstock, and she's working really closely with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and that Partners for Fish and Wildlife program to help put those projects on the ground. So we facilitate a lot of that. Those federal programs have taken a huge cut, and so we do a lot to try to help supplement their budgets. And you know, we don't need to recreate the wheel there. They've got a great program in place to help landowners. So we really kind of work hand in hand with them, fill in where there's holes, and really help facilitate their private lands program. But most of the acres we do and a lot of the work we do is on public lands, either federal national wildlife refuges, waterfowl production areas, or state game areas. We've got an engineering agreement. You know, our engineering staff are really sought after in the country for their expertise in the field of wetland restoration and design. It's just kind of a niche that not a lot of folks get into. So we've got agreements with Wisconsin DNR and with USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service to provide engineering services for their programs to get good wetlands on the ground. We got a big one going on right now by Princess Point Wildlife Area. It's actually NRCS bought an easement on that property from the landowner, and then Wisconsin DNR bought the residual value that was remaining after the easement from the landowner, and it's now going to be part of Princess Point State Wildlife Area. And DU is providing the engineering services to do a really Cadillac design out there that's above and beyond what NRCS probably would have done on their own. And really kudos to DNR to really step up and take on the long-term management and maintenance of something that is going to be real special. I think when we're done with it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. That's just kind of right in our back door, like we were chatting about offline. Now, what percentage of that project do you think is complete? I know a lot of people are kind of waiting to hear if it's going to be open this fall, or if, you know, if you mentioned there's some delays, if that might get pushed until 2026.
Yeah, it was probably 50% complete until we just got like, I don't know, 6-7 inches of rain there, 11 inches of rain in some other places. So it probably went backwards a good 10% at least. And more importantly, like that site will be shut down for probably a good 3 weeks here with no movement of material. So it won't be open this year. I can pretty much guarantee that. And so next fall will be its inaugural hunt out there on some of that new land. But it's incredible. 1,700 acres. You just don't get chunks of land like that much anymore. Couple pump stations that we're going to put in there, 4 different cells that we can manage. But right now, Mother Nature decided to overtop everything, and it's all a giant lake right now. So we'll get back to work as soon as everything dries out.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to check that out. Tyler, I know he is as well, as he's, primarily a walk-in guy, and there's not a whole lot of those areas around us. So, adding that, doubling the size of that and creating some more walk-in opportunities is huge for guys like him.
Yeah. I enjoy lots of pain. So, yes, I'm a walk-in guy. Just put all my gear, make sure it's falling off my wagon, falling off of me, it takes me an hour to walk in, then another hour. Anyway, beside the point.
No, again, DNR did a great job securing a couple extra access points there for walk-in. I still would probably take the river in myself, but there's going to be great boat in access too, where you can come down the river and either jump the berm or walk over and find some good places there. But I'm excited, as you guys are, to check that out next fall.
Yeah. Let's go back to Knowles-Nelson. I've been hearing some chatter about this. I'm not super familiar with Knowles-Nelson. Let's just start like at the beginning with what is the Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Program, and just define it, just educate me and Matt and Jeff, our listeners.
Yeah. And I'll do a poor job of the part of Knowles-Nelson Stewardship that I don't deal with on a regular basis, but basically it's a pot of money that gets split up into several different uses. Everything from boat launches and some park development, things like that with communities. And that's the kind of stuff I don't really deal with too much. The other big pot goes to land protection, and most of the public land that you get out and recreate on was protected by Knowles-Nelson Stewardship. That pot's split up into 2 different pots. One that goes right to the DNR to help them purchase land. One that goes to NGOs, and we can apply for up to half of the appraised value of a property and get reimbursed from that from Knowles-Nelson Stewardship. So DU is a nationally certified land trust amongst all of our other things. I think we're most known for those engineering services, but we are also a land trust. So we will buy land. We don't hold title to land in Wisconsin. We do elsewhere in the country, but in Wisconsin, we then look to offload that property to DNR or U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service or somebody else that's going to keep it open for hunting. That is the requirement of the Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Program. If you purchase using those dollars, it has to be open to hunting, fishing, trapping, and bird watching. So anyway, that has been a hugely successful program. It has received bipartisan support for a long time. It's been taking a big haircut year after year, or reauthorization after reauthorization. It's been getting whittled down. And this is the first year it has not been reauthorized, but we've been working hard. We do have some legislation crafted, and big shout out to Representative Tony Kurtz and Senator Pat Teston had worked with folks to craft a new stewardship bill that we will be picking up here and helping them hopefully bring over the finish line. Normally that is included in the budget build, but it did not make it into the budget build this last go around. So we're gonna have to work on some standalone legislation to get this thing passed and get it over the finish line. But again, it's when I talk about the machine, it is one of the first cogs of the machine that allows us to leverage those our dollars with state dollars and then go get those federal dollars. So it's not only a loss of the program, but it's a loss of access to a whole bunch of other federal money that we could get using Knowles-Nelson Stewardship. So something we're real active working on right now. DU leading a sportsman's coalition. Pheasants Forever's on there, Safari Club, Wisconsin Trappers Association, Trout Unlimited, Congressional Sportsman's Caucus. But everybody, all the groups are basically on there, pulling together to try and get this thing reauthorized. That's how important it. In fact, it is so important. I had to register as a lobbyist, which I never thought I would say that. But it's that important that I went ahead and registered as a lobbyist because of the amount of time I was spending in the Capitol. You can only spend so much time in the Capitol before you have to register as a lobbyist. So it's something we're definitely passionate about and really working hard to pull something together here.
So without going too far down the political rabbit hole, what are some of the reasons why you think this wasn't part of the budget with this bill? Like what is the other side of the fence saying was part of the reason why they don't think it's beneficial?
Yeah, it's going to be impossible not to go down the rabbit hole a little bit here, but there was a lawsuit last year brought by the governor and one of the leading nonprofits that helps organize other land trusts. Anyway, they sued over how Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Fund was being implemented, and they won that case. But in doing so, they deemed kind of a critical oversight component of the stewardship program as being illegal. And there's a chunk of the government that believes there needs to be some oversight for doling out this kind of money. And so that was the big sticking point on this last negotiations, is how they were running the program was deemed illegal. We all said that's fine. We're fine with some level of oversight, but what that looks like and how we orchestrate that was the heavy lift. And we got there. We got real close. We have, I think, a good start of a bill there. But that oversight of the program was a major sticking point in how we're going to be sure, which I mean, we all agree. I want those dollars to be used in the most effective way possible, and some amount of oversight is reasonable for that. So we just need to figure that out. And there's always, you hear that, how much more land do we need? And there's certainly places in northern Wisconsin where we do have an abundance of land, and there are some of those rules that were in place that require an extra level of scrutiny for lands north of 10 or something like that. And again, we're fine with that, but anybody living down in southern Wisconsin trying to find a place to duck hunt on public land knows there's not enough of it down here. So we just need to get together and figure out a good way forward on this that I think everyone can agree with. So I think that path is there. We just gotta, like you say, hopefully get the politics out of it and get just to what the citizens want, because there's overwhelming support for this program from the general public. So there really is no excuse why it shouldn't go forward. And I think a lot of what we're trying to do, is really, one, just put credit where credit's due in the case of Tony Kurtz and Pat Teston for the work they have done. Those two Republicans working hard to make something happen for us sportsmen. And so I think that's a big part of it too, is to really show up and support those folks who are leading the charge, and others will join if once they see the amount of support that's given by the sporting community in Wisconsin. And as you guys know, it's huge. I mean, it's our culture, it's a way of life here. So we just need to show up and make that loud and clear, and I think we'll be able to get there.
Maybe you mentioned this before, but is the stewardship program, like, is the threat that it wouldn't exist at all, or is the main threat that it would just be a lower amount of funding?
This right now, it would not exist at all. And so that's our number one goal. And there's some stuff in here we don't like either, but right now our goal is just to maintain the program. Because yes, if this legislation fails, it goes away altogether, which is a huge loss. I mean, yes, we can reinvent the wheel, but it's had a long history of success, and so yeah, one of our main goals here is to just get this program reauthorized, and then it's probably going to only be a 2-year reauthorization, and then we'll get another kick at the can and hopefully improve it again and start building it up from where it's at. But yeah, that's a great question, and it's kind of a dire time where we could lose the program altogether.
How long has the program been around and been funded then in the state?
Oh, it started in 89, I believe. Yeah, it started in 1989. So it's been, like I said, initially it was authorized for like 20 years, and then it was a 10-year reauthorization, then it was a 5-year reauthorization, and this last one was a 4-year. So not only do the time frames keep shrinking, but the dollars within it to do land protection keep shrinking as well. So
Sure.
it's been around a long time. And like I said, if you guys are out recreating on state land, there's a big likelihood that is there because of Knowles-Nelson Stewardship.
Now, what kind of funding, like what dollar amounts are we talking here that this program provides?
Yeah, right now again, I'll get probably the numbers wrong about everything else, but I know for the NGO pot of money, we were down to $7 million that gets split up, and again, they're great program. It requires us to come up with 50% match. So right there, you're getting a dollar for dollar payout on that program that goes to the NGOs anyway. I know that the DNR pot of money is down to $2 million or so that they have to spend, which is, when you think about land values today, that's probably one acquisition if it's a nice one. So it's really getting whittled down there to the point it's hard to get a lot of good work done. But like I said, we're okay with maintaining funding, even taking a little cut if we have to, just to make sure the program stays alive. So it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes when you see that reduction in funding, but the NGO pot anyway is holding pretty strong, and hopefully we can figure that out. And the way it was written right now, there would be a threshold over a certain amount of money that would require extra review and extra oversight, and that would be above and beyond what's currently allocated in there. And so in that case, that could be actually additional funding when there's, if you think about some of these really prime opportunities like the Princess Point that came on the market, and luckily DNR was able to figure that out. But some of those once in a lifetime opportunities that come up, and if the funding isn't there is some wording in this legislation that would give us a route to bring in funding outside of Knowles-Nelson Stewardship to address those once in a lifetime opportunities. So that's a huge potential improvement to the program, and bringing additional funds in, and a good way to get through that oversight problem that some folks want to see there.
It's all really fascinating. I mean, I'm so right. Do other states, Brian, have programs similar to this? Like, how are they funding land acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, it really is the envy of the country, really. I mean, especially when it first started, and it had a little more robust funding. Still, the model is really a shining example of a great land protection model. Other states have their sales tax and things like that have brought considerable funding to conservation in general, and some of that flows into land protection. But as far as a standalone land protection instrument, Knowles-Nelson Stewardship is really one of the few out there, and a great example of how we can use those funds to do the most good for us in the state. And again, tying back to that initial foundation of science, we always say we don't do random acts of conservation. All of those protection efforts are driven by science, and they're put in the areas where we get the biggest bang for our buck. And we're tied to other acquisition boundaries and studies that have already been publicly vetted and approved, and so we're working within those boundaries to finish out land acquisition. And we have a huge one down in Avon Bottoms, another wildlife area down in Rock County. That's a 1,900 acre acquisition, biggest one we've ever done. Luckily, we got it in last year when we had stewardship, so it has stewardship funding. Another great example of how stewardship can come in to help. But that will almost double the acreage of Avon Bottoms wildlife area and open up a huge chunk of huntable ground for folks down there. And I should put a shout out. We're still in the fundraising phase to complete that acquisition. So if you like to hunt public lands, support Ducks Unlimited, and reach out to us, and we'll make that one happen. But that's a huge lift for us, and we're working with a whole bunch of different conservation partners to make that happen. Pheasants Forever is helping. They got some banquets going on down in that neck of the woods. Hopefully get some funding from those guys. Groundswell Conservancy is another local land trust that's been working with us to help pull all the pieces together there. But Knowles-Nelson Stewardship is the single biggest funding piece of that puzzle. And again, we took that Knowles-Nelson Stewardship and we went and got North American Wetlands Conservation Act dollars to help. So we got about $2 million of Knowles-Nelson Stewardship going into that. We went and got $1 million of knock-on North American Wetlands Conservation Act funding. And then we got to come up with about another $1 million to complete the sale. So it's that kind of stuff that won't happen anymore without Knowles-Nelson Stewardship.
Now, are you getting a lot of support from other groups, like non-hunting groups? I mean, I think about all these public land access areas, walking trails, boat launches for kayakers and fishermen. Like, is there a lot of support from those other groups, or is it primarily just hunters that are trying to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably very biased because we DU helped launch this Sportsman Alliance, and so we've got all of the hook and bullet people loud and engaged here, and so I see way more activity from the hook and bullet folks than I do from other folks. But Gathering Waters, that's the umbrella organization for all the other land trusts. They put out polls, and most of those land trusts are real diverse audiences, and there's overwhelming support from that community as well for the program. So I would say it's pretty broad support across all walks of life. But right now, the sporting community is really carrying the load when it comes to engagement in policy development and in working with legislators to make this happen and hopefully carry it over the finish line.
Nice. Yeah, I just wish some of those other groups, it just seems like they utilize the land just as much as hunters, and it seems like you just wish that we could all come together on that. And I don't think they realize, how much of that weight is on, like you said, the hook and bullet people, right? I mean, we're the ones
Right.
that are the ones trying to speak up for it, but they're also using these lands, right? So
Yeah.
you'd like to see more of a balance there, and I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah. And again, not to jump into those weeds you talked about before, but when that lawsuit came, it really put kind of a divide in there with some of the legislators that were called out for unfair practices. And so not only are we leading the charge, we are the ones to lead the charge. We have access into those offices, and we, have always engaged in a open and positive dialogue with those offices, working with them on stewardship. And so now that's hopefully going to pay dividends as we work with them to hopefully get something crafted here that works for all of us.
Jeff, to your point though, it does feel like, like hunters, anglers, hook and barrel people, whatever terms you want to use to describe, say, outdoorsmen and women. It seems like we are the ones who always have the loudest voices. And maybe that's just my perception of it because I am one of those folks, right? And in leading, like, hey, we want to buy more land, protect more land, whether it's in Wisconsin or anywhere else out in the country, though, too. And I mean, is that because our rights as hunters are under attack more than, say, a hiker or just a kayaker, or because we need to be loud, or why is that?
I think part of it goes back to the North American model of conservation. We have been since the country began, we have been, the hook and bullet community has been the primary stewards of the land, and also generated the funding to help protect the land and restore land. So, I mean, I agree with you guys. We need, especially, we all see our hunting numbers declining. We need to diversify that support. But I don't think we'll ever, our voice right now is needed more than ever. And so we got to figure out how to, again, have all boats rise in that respect, bring in a diverse community that supports public lands, and then also, do whatever we can to one, keep our hunting numbers up, but two, like I mentioned, we're kind of late to this political game, and are just starting to figure out, man, we got 30,000 DU members in Wisconsin alone, and we haven't really tapped into those folks to really flex our muscle when it comes to politics and policy work. So we're really looking forward to developing those relationships. We actually, another shout out to DNR folks, we're doing banding waterfowl with legislators. So DU helps kind of be the intermediary there, where we'll grab legislators, get them out in the field, band some ducks, and really, cement those relationships with those guys, so that, whenever they see us walking in the door, we're not always there just asking for something. We're there, one, supporting them when they do something right, like I mentioned with Kurtz and Teston, and getting them out. And we have a legislative trap shoot coming up here in September. So just, building those relationships and making them appreciate the machine and support the tools that need to go into the machine.
So Brian, what can we do? Like, what is the best thing that, we on this podcast and our listeners, like, how do we push this in the right direction?
Yeah, well, when the time comes, we're in a little bit of a lull right now. They're out of session, but when session starts back up, we have a pretty good draft of a bill that will soon come up. And so obviously, contacting your legislators and letting them know you support Knowles-Nelson Stewardship and you want to see this program continue is going to be hugely important once we get there. So that is first and foremost. But get involved with, like I said, DU. We have a state policy chair. Well, we've had one for a while, but we've got a new state policy chair. We're building out that network of folks. So, if we need help in a certain district, well, we put the APB out for anybody who's in, District 6 to really put a call out, or, we'll do in-district site visits when we've got a good project in somebody's district, and then show up to those kind of things. So if the next level beyond just calling your legislator and letting them know you support it is to get involved in one of your local conservation groups, whether that's DU or WWA or Pheasants Forever. Like I said, those guys are all represented in the sporting coalition. So whichever group speaks to you, get involved and let them know you want to help on the policy side. It's an area where we've found really, great return on investment and your time. There's all sorts of things you can do when you volunteer your time for these folks. But I think a lot of people are surprised how the policy world can really make a huge impact. The pen is mightier than the backhoe in this case, I guess, or whatever, shovel, I guess. But certainly that power is being realized now more than ever with this sporting coalition for stewardship that's formed. So that would be next level. And then if that there is a open, governor's not running again. So if one of you guys want to run for governor, that'd be perfect.
Oh no! Oh my goodness, that would be terrible for everyone. I feel like
Jeff Luedeke for governor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You've got my vote.
Now, Brian, say let's say I don't like to say this, but say worst case scenario, like this program ceased to exist, and maybe that would help some of the people realize the severity of this. You talked a lot about land acquisition, right? Like the land that's already there. Is a lot of that funding also going to help maintaining that land? Or do you think it would, if it didn't exist, would it just be that we wouldn't get more, or would the land we actually have get worse?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. I'm glad you brought it up, because we have acknowledged that as a weak point in the Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Program. And we all know that public land could use more management and maintenance. And so in this new legislation that is proposed, there is funding designated for management and maintenance of public lands. And so in this case, yes, you would end up with the land that we do own would be, there'd be less resources available to manage and maintain those. But yeah, and then in general, a lot of those pieces like this Avon Bottoms parcel we're purchasing, a big chunk of why we're purchasing that is to make land management easier for DNR. You can run fire across, these broad landscapes now and manage on a bigger chunk when you have a bunch of that fragmented landscape behind you, and you can manage at a much bigger scale. And so in some cases, these land access points not only provide more public land, but provide a better management strategy for whoever ends up owning that land in the long run. So I think it's both. Not only are we going to lose out on some of those protection efforts, but the stuff we own will be a little less. And, especially in some parts of the state where development is continuing to occur, every house that's built next to a wildlife area eats into that buffer that you can discharge a firearm. And so in some of those areas too, without expanding and protecting some of those key areas, you're potentially shrinking the huntable area as that development creeps in around those wildlife areas.
No, that's good to hear. I think the management part is, a huge part of this. You could buy as much land as you can afford, but if you don't have any funding or anybody to manage it, it's not going to be any good, right? Like a lot of people would like to see some of that. Just let's make the current stuff we have better. Let's bring more ducks to that, right?
Yeah.
Deferred maintenance, right? I mean, I've heard that term recently right? Whether it's, at the state level or national wildlife refuges, right? There's deferred maintenance, which basically means, hey, we don't have the money to actually do what's necessary to maintain this property. So
Yep. And that's been a debate we've been having forever. I mean, there is a balance you have to strike there. The one thing I will say is land prices rarely ever go down. And so when those opportunities come up and they're really key pieces, having this tool there to react and execute that protection effort is one of the highest priority things. And while I hate to say, yes, let's buy it, but I think if we look more into ag practices and longer term ag leases and things like that actually bring revenue back to the state, rather than, if we're not ready to maintain it as prairie or as whatever, let's keep it in ag and wait until we know we have the resources there to manage it. So I think there are some of those things we can do to alleviate the burden of managing all that land on the state, because again, those guys are receiving cuts. I mean, we're at 1970s staffing levels in wildlife management at the state. So they're doing everything they can, but it's an impossible task to keep up. And so we got to be a little smarter, I think, about how we do that.
Yeah, and I am certainly not, attacking, the DNR or anybody who's managing our natural resources. It's more of it's like there's a gap here, and how do we just need more dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need
Yeah.
dollars. I mean, that's it, right? Whether we've
Yeah.
Jeff, Matt, who have we talked to, or who we talked about, or who talked about like raising the price of hunting license in the state to help like fund some of these additional programs or things. I can't remember who it is, who our previous guests were, but
Yeah, that might have been.
Talked to R3. I don't remember.
Yeah. No, the
Yeah.
Fish and Wildlife account is upside down. We definitely need to do something to manage it. And yes, I mean, I'm critical of land management because it's not being done, but I understand their hands are tied. We don't have enough staff to do it. So there is a solution, and you're right, it is funding. And then Jeff, back to your point and the leveraging ability of Knowles-Nelson Stewardship, those dollars that we bring in from North American Wetlands Conservation Act and other things, those do go towards management and maintenance of land as well as land protection. So right now the cap on a NAWCA grant is $3 million. And so we have to come up with usually $6 million in match to get that $3 million. Of that $3 million, usually about a third of that is land protection and 2/3 of that is wetland restoration and enhancement, or upland restoration and enhancement. So without that leveraging tool there, we miss out on those federal funds that in turn supply the management and some of the money we're talking about to do the replace the water control structures and repair those failing berms and dikes on state land. So it will have an impact in that way as well.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, you need both of it. I see your point where, you can purchase that land, right? Because like you said, a lot of that stuff is once in a lifetime opportunities where if you don't, who knows, it might turn into a giant subdivision or an industrial park, and that land is gone forever, right? Where if you have the opportunity to purchase it, keep it as ag for a while, and then when the funding is there, develop it into, a wetlands area. I see both sides for sure.
Yeah. We have been hammering Knowles-Nelson here, which is great. I'm learning a ton here. Brian, what else do we need to know? What do we miss? What do we not talk about with Knowles-Nelson?
I think it's something that's kind of timely right now with all the flooding going on in Southeast. And we actually, we have a partnership with the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District to restore wetlands in their service area to alleviate flooding. So I'm sure they're not getting a bunch of credit right now because of the state of things there, but it would have been a lot worse if it weren't for a lot of the efforts that were done there to store water up in the watershed in wetlands. And so I think that's something that we are leaning into now more than ever at DU as we talked about trying to broaden that audience, the ecological goods and services that wetlands provide to everybody, not just hunters and fishermen, but to everybody, is something we haven't talked a lot about until recently. And it is also a funding mechanism to help put habitat on the ground. And, at DU, while we still will prioritize our work in those areas, surprisingly, some of the stuff right around Milwaukee is pretty high density mallard production areas. And so we can accomplish both. We can provide those ecological services. One of the projects we just did for them last year, and again, the focus there is to help store water for them. That's their main goal, and that's what we're there to do. But we had 18 species of waterfowl on there already, and this was just restored last year. And it's just a awesome restoration project. So we can do both, and we're looking more to leverage those resources and tap into that revenue stream to help address the issue we just talked about with the Fish and Wildlife account and how are we going to restore and take care of land. So I think that's an opportunity that's on the horizon for us to lean into and figure out how we can leverage those opportunities, and certainly with that bring in that broader audience about it's water quality, it's drinking water, it's groundwater recharge, it's all these other things that wetlands provide that we don't necessarily talk about in our circles that much. We want to know where the ducks are. So that's been a point of emphasis for us lately. So and I guess going back to that machine analogy, we don't do any of this stuff alone. Those partnerships with state, federal, local folks across the state and the nation and the continent for DU with our sister organization in DU Canada and DU Mexico. I just can't stress enough how impressive this conservation community is and what we can get done when we put our mind to it. I don't know if this, these things happen. I'm sure it wasn't happenstance, but the models that are in place now, like Knowles-Nelson Stewardship and NACA actually has a component that drives funding to Canada, where most of our birds are produced. And so that is an international model that it's pretty remarkable. And then going back to the sporting community support and all this stuff, the Pittman Robertson account, which comes from a sales tax on our ammunitions and firearms, that's also tied to NACA and how we distribute funds across the continent. So it's really a super complex model that I don't think anybody really appreciates fully, including myself, because I'm still learning stuff every day on how to leverage that. But it's something that I think people take for granted, and they don't realize how all these cogs work together, and not to keep harping on Knowles-Nelson Stewardship, but the impacts of taking one of those cogs out of the machine and what trickle down effect that has. So but yeah, I'm excited for teal season here soon to start up, and getting out there and visiting a bunch of these DU wetlands. One thing, I always like to give props to our staff, our field staff that's out there, those field technicians, those guys. They we put about $5 million on the ground in Wisconsin every year. Some of those in land acquisition, some of those in enhancement and restoration projects, but those guys are out there running around making awesome habitat for us, and the Wisconsin team I'll put them up against anybody. They're just an awesome group of folks out there putting habitat on the ground, and really something we're proud of, coming from one guy 10-12 years ago to now having this force out on the landscape, making a difference. So it's impressive work that's going on out there, and I'll send you guys I got some drone footage of that Princess Point project well, actually they flew the drone today out there to capture the flood, but I'll send you guys some pre-footage of what that project's looking like, and hopefully we'll get out there next fall and take a look at that one.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, drone stuff for sure. All right, I had a whole bunch of other questions for you, Brian. We're gonna have to save some of this other stuff for like another podcast, because we're at an hour. We'll start to wind things down a little bit before we get into how we wrap up our shows here. What does the duck season outlook look like for us in the Midwest here? What is your opinion? I've been seeing some forecasts, and it's but what is your opinion how it's going to be for us here in Wisconsin? My
opinion
Iowa.
is purely anecdotal, because we don't have any of the BPOP information yet. That should be coming out soon. But we had more water in Wisconsin than we have had in the past, and that usually equals more ducks. So I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to have a pretty good season here. I think, as we talked about, weather will play a huge impact on how those early seasons go, but I think we've got great teal production. I would expect a really good early teal season, and so looking forward to that. And then hopefully the rest follows suit, and we don't get some big hard blow early in the season and push all the ducks out of here. But that's my prediction, and you can call me back later if you get skunked on opening teal season, and let me know. But
I'll send you a picture, Brian. I'll text
if we
you
get skunked, it'll probably be due to poor shooting more than anything, Brian.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. What about Michigan and Ohio, the other states you cover, and then if you know any predictions for Iowa or Matsat or Minnesota? Is it all going to be pretty similar in those states too, or do you think is it going to vary by state?
I think it'll be. I mean, the wetness was pretty broad across Michigan. A little bit drier out east as you go further east, so maybe eastern part of Ohio, you might be getting into a little more dryness there. But I think Minnesota, Iowa should be set up pretty well. We will. Those BPOP numbers should be coming out pretty soon, so that's when the science really starts to inform what our predictions say. Right now, I wouldn't put much in my recommendation or my prediction, but I used to fly the spring count and count wetlands and count ducks, and I just know driving around this spring there were a lot of those ephemeral wetlands on the ground that usually equate to duck production. So hopefully that turns out to be the case.
Okay. Fingers and toes are crossed here. Fingers and toes. All right, Jeff, Matt, any other questions for Brian before we get into our Sky Blast questions?
No, let's hit it.
Okay. All right. So Brian, the way that we wrap up our podcast is with a rapid fire session. We call it Sky Blast questions, right? These are off the cuff, from the hip. Could be about hunting, could be about anything, nothing, food, who knows what it will ask about. But our job is to simply ask the questions. Your job is to spit out the first answer that comes to mind. We'll roll through it, and then end on a pretty lighthearted, fun note. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds good, but this doesn't make me a sky blaster, does it?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We've had other suggestions for this segment. Someone said
pass shooters, pass shooting, or pass shots, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
We had Tony Peterson on from Meat Eater, and he said, "Oh, those are kiss my ass shots." So maybe we should name it the kiss my ass shot section. I don't know.
I mean, passing shots. I like passing shots.
Passing shots. It's not bad. Anyway, that's how we'll wrap things up here. Jeff, Matt, who wants to go first? You want me to go first? What do you think?
I can. I don't. Matt, you can go, but I was going to say I can go first too. I don't think I've ever went first.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go. All right, what is your favorite TV show, Brian?
Not the current Magnum PI, but the old school Tom Selleck Magnum PI. I grew up on that. I still have a fondness for the original Magnum PI.
Nice. Okay, now this one is a question that a buddy of mine sent, and he's the treasurer for the DU chapter down here by us. This might not be a really short answer, but you can try to generalize this as much as you can. How do you kill spatterdock, which would be like lily pads, essentially, right?
Yeah.
He must be having an issue at his pond, and he wants to know.
Contact your DNR representative. You can get a permit to spray that if it is an aggressive, invasive plant for your marsh. But you do need a permit to spray it. So you can chemically treat that to kill spatterdock if you need to.
Noted. Perfect. All right. Favorite non-hunting related activity to do in the outdoors?
Ooh, non-hunting, non-fishing?
Yeah, let's say non-hunting or fishing.
Non-hunting or fishing. I guess mountain biking is probably it.
Okay.
I do enjoy golf occasionally, but I really suck at golf. So, and that's a rare time that I get out and do that. So, I'll probably go with the mountain biking.
Perfect. All right, my last one. Will you be at the Waterfowl Hunters Expo here in a couple weeks?
I hope to make it there. I'm going to be in Michigan the day flying back into town. So I'll get in the airport and run up there. Hopefully flights are all on time, but it's going to be tight. Now, DU will be there. We have a booth there. And so, like I said, some of the staff, those folks that are out on the ground doing all the work will be there. So definitely stop in, say hello. They'll have a bunch more information on some of the specific projects going around the state. And so, yeah, that's a great show, and hope I can get there. It's just going to be a matter of crunch time to get up there for it.
All right, fair enough. That's all I got. Matthew?
Yeah. What's your shotgun of choice for waterfowl hunting?
Well, I have a SX3, so I guess that's what I'll choose because that's my only choice. So I guess 12 gauge SX3 is what I'm using right now, so we'll stick with that.
Sure. Do you have a hunting boat?
I have several hunting boats.
It's the second week in a row.
My favorite is my Grumman Sport boat. I have a Grumman Sport canoe, a Grumman Sport boat, and a 16-foot John boat, and a 21-foot. So I've got a fleet of boats, but my Grumman Sport boat is still my favorite.
I think that's like 8 boats between you and Bruce Ross, who we had on last episode.
Yes.
Between the two of you guys, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And pro tip, you can register a fleet of boats at DNR and you save a little money. So if you own more than 2 boats, you can save some money by registering them as a fleet.
We got some work to do, Matt.
Yeah, those are great tips back weeks here.
We need more boats.
Yeah.
Hope our wives are listening.
Right. If you have any, what's your favorite taxidermy in your house? Do you have a favorite?
I don't have any taxidermy in my house. Now, I do say I had a brook trout growing up that was on the wall. That was probably it. But no, it's pretty. I do have a lot of artwork that I do instead of taxidermy. So, but nothing big hanging on the walls at home.
Sure. And my last one, do you have a bucket list hunt that you'd like to check off there?
Yeah, some Alaska waterfowling would be on there. A moose hunt would be high on there. But yeah, those would be high on the bucket list. But I tell you, we're pretty lucky around here. I get out of state, go down south hunting ducks, but I do 90% of my hunting in Wisconsin, so pretty happy right around here.
Sure. All right, that's all I had.
That's a great segue for my first question, Matt. Still, I had to cross that one off the list. I wrote that one down, the bucket one. So, it's so you mentioned you travel out of state. Like, do you have any trips planned for this coming fall, which is like very close to us here?
Yeah, I mean, in my work takes me off into Michigan and Ohio, so we got a couple of those coming up. We do have a dedication going on up in Manitoba to recognize some of the work that we've done up there in Manitoba with specific donors and folks from Wisconsin that have supported that program. So we'll be heading up there potentially this September. I haven't really locked that in yet. And unfortunately, I missed the, now you have to apply for a tag ahead of time. So if I go to that, I won't be hunting. So that really, I'm really gonna have to think hard about if I want to go to that one now. But yeah, there, and then a Chesapeake Bay trip is, I think, in the plans for January this year.
Okay, awesome. All right. Backing up here a little bit, coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee, lots of coffee.
Okay. And do you drink it black or do you put some other stuff in it?
Black and no flavors. I can't stand flavored coffee, just black coffee.
It's the only way to do it.
Speaking my language, Brian. You're speaking my language. And Jeff's too. We're kind of coffee snobs over here.
Yep.
So, all right. Do you own any dogs?
I have a 6-month-old black Labrador retriever that's hopefully getting ready to go here. We'll see how he's doing. I don't think I'm going to hunt him super hard. My last Labrador, I over-instilled that drive to retrieve, and he was a pain in the ass. So I'm going to take it real easy this first season. Just let him sit calmly and maybe watch all the other dogs retrieve ducks and try to just instill that nice calm demeanor to start with here.
I could ask you 100,000 follow-up questions about your dog. We'll save that for after I hit stop recording. Last one for you here. All right. Your favorite duck blind snack?
Ooh. Well, I have to go the jet boil and some hot, either those. I'll take any of those instant meals, but the Salisbury steak jet boil instant meal thing is pretty good. But I love the hot meal in the blind. It just doesn't get any better than that. It makes you feel like luxurious, like you're living the life when you're eating something hot in a duck blind. You're living a good life.
Tyler needs more of that in his life.
I do. That is music to my ears. And you just gotta sell Jeff on that for me, Brian. I will say you are the first person that we've asked that question to that has said the jet boil Salisbury steak. Usually it's like zebra cakes or, some little Debbie snack or granola bar. So that was good. I like unique answers. That's it I'm out of shells. That's all of my past shots. Before I hit the stop recording button, Brian, this is your chance though. Who do you want to plug? Anybody want to give any additional shout outs to? This is your chance to just, let people know where they can get more information about you, about what you're doing with the work specifically in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, anything you could think of.
Yeah. No, I mean, ducks.org is where you go to get all your DU information. Drill into Wisconsin to find all the upcoming events. We didn't talk a ton about the event system, but that's another whole part of the machine that is coming into full swing this fall. And so there's a lot of great events going on. Speaking of golf, I participated in a DU golf outing down at Evergreen, down in Elkhorn there. So a lot of great stuff going on around the state, good events to jump on and help support wetland conservation through a good time and hopefully winning a gun or something good while you're there. So that's about it. I really appreciate you guys having me on and talking Knowles-Nelson Stewardship, wetland conservation, and some duck hunting.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time. Glad you could hop on, and we'll definitely do it again because there's a lot of other topics we want to talk about too.
Happy to do it anytime.